Who really cares about that? Except the spider heads.
You're a big...
I'm a hater. Still say Spider-Man's overrated. Shouldn't be out in space fighting cosmic things.
All right, welcome to this big hating podcast.
Yes, we're going to hate today.
No, he's going to hate, not me. But welcome in, everybody, to issue number 8 of the Comic Room Podcast. We are glad to be here.
Yes.
I am just coming off the heels of recording another podcast.
Yeah.
So it's dual record podcast day for me.
Yeah. I just had a cup of coffee, so I'm ready to carry us.
But I'm excited to be here today. We got a jam-packed episode, mostly MCU focused. D23 was this past weekend, and there was a lot of trailer leaks. So I tried to be patient and wait out the official release because I thought that they were going to do it Monday morning and like release these trailers, but they didn't. So
Yeah.
I had to watch the leaks because it's relevant information.
We gotta love the leaks, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna be going over those leaks. What else do we got? I think that's pretty much it. That'll probably carry us the whole way.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
A lot of fun stuff.
So that's what we got going. We also have a Patreon where the episodes extend longer than what we talk about. So today we got Sleepers and Head Scratchers.
Yep.
We'll show you those books at the end, and then in the Patreon we'll get into why we think that they're a sleeper head scratcher. And then we were supposed to come up with a topic to talk about, but we'll see when we get there. We'll let it unfold. So yeah, check out the Patreon, link in the description. Mean a lot. Great way to support the channel. And
let's jump in.
Yeah, let's get into it. So
show and tell.
Show and tell.
Okay.
I think I had me going first. So
okay.
My show and tell is a 1 of 1.
All right.
Nobody else in the world has a book like this, I think. I looked up Go Collect. I checked pictures of sold. The book itself isn't a 1 of 1, but it's what the book has. Okay. So I looked at all the sales for what's related to this for CGC and CBCS, and I couldn't find anything like it. So I think that I do have a 1 of 1 here.
Okay.
So this might be our first indie book. Oh, no, because you did the Atomic Bomb. What is that indie?
Albedo?
Oh, you did Albedo. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You did the...
I think that wasn't actually a show and tell. I think that was a sleeper.
Oh, right, yeah. So, this 1 of 1 is Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
All Bad Things. This is signed and quoted by Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus in the show. And I had him write the quote, "I hide in plain sight," which is one of his best lines in the show. So
that's so pretty.
Yeah. It's honestly, this book is pretty, like, you can go buy it on eBay for like a raw version unsigned. People have this book signed, but I haven't seen one with a quote from him.
How did you get the quote? You just said, "Hey, would you mind saying this?" Or how does that work?
So he was at LA Comic-Con a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I went, bought a signature from him, and they just, like, this lady like came up and down the line, and she was like, "If you want him to write something, write a quote, write it on this piece of paper."
So you thought of it on the fly right then and there?
Well,
wow, that's a lot of pressure.
So
what a cool.
I mean, I looked up like infamous Gus quotes.
I mean, that's what a generous invitation, because he doesn't need to do that. He's only really promised to sign it.
Yeah.
So despite him being such a good villain, he's actually a really good guy.
Yeah,
apparently
he was signing a lot of Mandalorian stuff. So I feel like that's probably wise, because he's got a couple good lines in the Mandalorian. I saw some people, they had like they were cosplaying as Boyos Hermanos employees, and they had him sign like an apron or a hat or something.
That is so good. Wow. That's so low key. I love it.
Yeah, this book is, I mean, you can get it fairly cheap. It was limited to about 500. Does it say on here? No, it doesn't. I think this was limited to like 500 or something like that.
That particular title? That issue?
Yeah, so there's only 500 of these. And this was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive in like 2013 or something like that. So yeah, I just
wow.
One of one, I think. I mean, somebody else could have done the same thing as me and not sold it, because I'm not listing this thing to sell. So
no.
But as far as I'm concerned, one of one, and I'll tell myself it's one of one.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of one because it also it has that experience tied to it, which can't be taken away.
Yeah. Also, if I could get other people to sign it, I would not be mad about cracking it open and getting Bryan Cranston or
Brian, if you're watching, drop us a comment. We'd love to have you on the show and sign it.
We just finished Malcolm in the Middle, watching Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
And he carries the last season. Like they let the last season fall off. I don't know why. That show, I was telling Daryl while we were watching it, I was like, I feel like this is like one of the few sitcoms, like it's getting better as we watch. I feel like sitcoms go like up and then they come down. So the last season, there was just one specific storyline that I just feel like they kind of they had so much care for before, and then they just like didn't care about it anymore. But he carries the last season.
Yeah.
He is so funny. And then to think that he literally went from Malcolm in the Middle to this. Like,
wow. He's not made any MCU appearances yet, right?
No.
I feel like he'd be good.
People have fan casted him for a long time as Norman Osborn.
Yeah, but he could. I don't think he's going to be though.
No, just a fan cast. Okay. Just because he's got that. I mean, menacing.
Speaking of signed 101s, you sent me this link to an eBay listing. I think it was last night.
Yeah,
and it was for Daredevil 184, the one with Daredevil pointing the gun. It says "No more Mr. Nice Guy," signed by Frank Miller, which is amazing. I think it was 9.6.
Yeah.
But what was really cool was that Cox signed it, right?
Yeah, Charlie Cox
signed it, and he. I'll let you say what he wrote. It was really cool.
Charlie Cox, the actor for Daredevil.
Yeah.
And he put his quote from No Way Home, where he says, "I'm a really good lawyer." And I noticed CGC misquoted it on the slab.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they put "I'm a really great lawyer," but it's obvious he wrote "good." Like, I don't know how you confuse good and great, but I'm looking at it for sure. I mean, it's Miller and Charlie Cox. I'll say the one thing that's making me not want it is I don't like that he signed it in yellow, because that cover is so much yellow.
Yeah, you lose it. It looked a little almost looked faded. And so did Miller's signature. It was the end of a long day, and they were still using the same pen.
Yeah,
a little bit, but yeah. And I'm like, you got to get it. You got to get it, almost as self-defense, because I want you to get it so that I can be relieved of the temptation to get it myself.
Yeah, honestly, he does signings a lot. He goes to a lot of conventions. Okay. So I wouldn't even mind bringing this one. You can get when you bring slabs, you can get a CGC witness to crack this for you.
Now that would be a cool one to get Cox and Bernthal.
Yeah. Frank Miller, Cox and Bernthal.
I've seen that with both signatures.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have Charlie Cox sign Daredevil 1 though.
I would get a lower copy to have him sign it.
Yes. We talked about this before.
Honestly,
off camera. Yeah.
What would be awesome is if I got a low grade copy, like a beater, and I got Charlie Cox to sign it, and then got Ben Affleck to sign it.
Okay, now that would be cool.
That'd be sick.
That of course, then you'd be obligated every time a new actor played Daredevil, you got to go seek him out. By the end, it's just looks like a yearbook, so 15 signatures on the front.
But as you can see, our walls are. I got Daredevil on this side, and then he's got FF because of the trailers that were leaked at D23 and what we'll be talking about. But anyways, that's my show and tell.
Love it.
It was cool getting to meet him. He was nice. He just said hello and then signed and then moved along. Yeah,
he strikes me as someone who enjoys the fandom that comes with the MCU universe. Yeah.
That's what I really appreciate about him, is that he definitely just leans into it.
Yeah.
Which is so great. And it's something that I've tweeted about Harrison Ford, is that he just he just like mocks the fandom constantly, and I'm like, okay, that's fine if you're just like doing your job, but like,
Yeah.
you don't have to like get on journalists for like asking you questions relevant to the thing that you're like. It's just, I don't know. I just don't like the way that he talks to journalists when they ask him those questions, and the way that he's like, when people ask him like, who shot first, and he's like, I don't care. It's like
he likes being contrarian. That's he's always been kind of grumpy to the press and media and even maybe fans. Probably not once you meet him. He's probably like a really nice guy. But I won't say I met him, but I was in the same room as him because he came back in 1991. He had a press conference at a hotel in Hollywood where I worked, and dude, he's tall.
Yeah.
Like that was the first thing that I noticed. Like he walked in, he was tall, and he was standing in the hotel lobby, and we're all kind of like, it's Han Solo, you know. We're staring at him, and maybe a couple sci-fi people were like, it's Deckard, you know. It's a Blade Runner reference, but he didn't. He was just kind of looking around, kind of wary, like he didn't want to be approached. He didn't like that he was standing in the middle of the lobby. He wanted to get wherever he was going, kind of tucked away. But it's cool, you know.
Yeah,
I was just shocked how tall he was. Like, wow.
I just think if you're gonna like be a part of like these huge worlds, and if you're gonna continuously take these jobs where like it's nerdum and fandom, and into your old age, like if like I would just think with the amount of like times he's just been annoyed by the fandoms and the press, you would think he would just stop taking jobs. But clearly the bag is more to him than.
But yes, the worst guy for that is William Shatner.
Oh,
like
really?
He called out the fan base. He told them like if you're a Trekkie, like you know what I'm talking about. Like Trekkies are hardcore. Like they follow the convention circuit around. Like they're into it.
Yeah.
Right? He legitimately told fans to their faces to get over it, to get a life.
Oh,
he's like, you guys get a life. Like the show's been, that was 25 years ago kind of thing, to the fans, to their faces. It's like, wow, that's messed up. Like,
yeah, that is messed up.
That's like, you're our captain, like almost literally. Like, I don't know how do I get, thankfully, you know, you have Picard or somebody else, you know, but that's rough, right?
Yeah.
Like the face of the franchise is making fun of you for being a fan of the show that it makes him an icon. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Harrison Ford gets a pass compared to Shatner.
I don't know. He's the face of too many like nerdy IPs.
Yeah.
Blade Runner, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and now he's going to be Red Hulk. Like,
yeah, those are huge. Those first three are just like,
I feel like it's just too many to constantly be like hating. Like, just give the fans a little something.
So no more soup for him. That's it. He doesn't get any more. No more rolls. All right. Here's my show and tell. And this one I don't believe is a one of one, but it could be a one of one because it's a pedigree, and it is Daredevil issue 171. Gorgeous 9.6 copy from the Winnipeg Pedigree collection. And what's kind of funny about this story, well, first off, let me just say it's the first time. It's not the first Kingpin appearance in the title. That's issue 170, the issue before this. But it's the first battle between the two, and it's on the cover, and it's a black cover, and it's a Frank Miller Daredevil, and it's a newsstand. It's just got so much going for it, right? I love this book.
Is this unpressed?
I don't know. It's never going to get a 9.8 because it's got those white chips missing on the bottom right.
Oh yeah.
And I looked it up on the CGC. Looked up the serial number, and it's acknowledged as being there, which is like, well, then how did it get a 9.6? But they probably are thinking of it as like a press thing, like it grabbed it and that kind of thing, rather than because if I took a nice book and I etched out two chips in it, it's not getting a 9.6.
No.
So anyway, 9.6, gorgeous book. The story behind this one, and I'll keep it short, but is last week. This was my sleeper book, and I was talking about all the merits of. I think it lands on our Patreon, but I was talking about all the merits of this book and why it's got a lot of room to run, this particular book. And I already own two copies of this book. One's in 8.5. I think it's direct, and the other one is newsstand, and it probably would get like an 8.5 also. I mean 8. Really tough book because it's black. It's really tough. And I was saying, yeah, I really would love to get a higher copy, blah blah blah. And Joshua is like, pulls up his phone while I'm talking, and he shows me live on camera, hey, there's this one right here. It's this one. There's two 9.6s. One of them's a pedigree. So before the episode ended last week, I had bought it.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking,
It's a first.
yeah, right, and probably not a last.
Yeah.
But when I or Joshua give a sleeper, like we will put our money where our mouth is. Like I didn't hesitate to pull the trigger on this. And as I speak, there's still the other 9.6 is still there. It's still available. It's not a pedigree, but it's a 9.6 newsstand for right about the same price I paid for this one.
Yeah.
And I was so happy when this arrived today that I almost wanted to buy that one too, but it's ridiculous. I mean, come on. I'm not going to, that's crazy to do. But anyway, I love the book. It's from my era of collecting when I first started buying comics. 50 cents was the cover price. I could get 2 books for $1. Can you imagine? 50 cents, man. I mean, crazy, right? So love the book. Stoked to have it. I guess everybody gets a bonus because we're talking about this book. It is still a sleeper book to me.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a book to get for a decent price that will have room to run, this is a great book to get.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful book.
Yeah.
Love it. So anyway.
I'm going to put my book up there because Daredevil is going to have plenty of times where he sits on the main.
Yes, he is.
But
this is more unique right here.
But Breaking Bad, this is the probably only time we'll see this sitting here.
Yeah.
Unless you get a copy and get it signed. But
I'll have it signed. I also hide in plain sight. Doesn't make sense. There we go.
So it's our show and tell for the week.
Yep.
Pretty cool. Let's now move on to some D23. Let's start off with FF because parts of that trailer leaked when it was shown at San Diego.
Yeah.
And the Daredevil trailer is a lot more recent. So this FF trailer has been talked about for a few weeks now. So this is all test footage essentially that they just kind of like put it together. It was like costume fittings tests, seeing how it all looks on camera.
Yeah.
It's not anything that's actually probably not anything that's actually going to be in the final product of the movie. But yeah,
I loved it. I loved the retro look of it all. The fact that they're clearly putting it in the 60s, and that was one of the things that you had asked me. Hey, bring some FFs.
Some quintessential
that look like 60s F, not from the 60s per se, but actually kind of reflect that 60s vibe, So like this one's my most recent FF acquisition. I mean, the flying saucer. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
It's so they're going to Planet X. I mean, it's so 60s. It's so good. And I had to ask my wife, what's the hairstyle that Sue Storm has right there? She and I don't know. I'm thinking, is it a beehive? It's not a beehive. Like if
is it a bob?
It's not a bob either. I thought if anyone should have thought of the bob, right? Should have been me. She looked at it, she goes, "Oh yeah, flip." Is what she called it. It's a flip. It's when the hair curls out at the end. A little flip. And this one's more of a bob.
I see.
You see that? It creates a roundness, whereas this one flips out. Anyway, I'm sure you guys didn't tune in to hear like 1960s hairstyles for women, but it's so cool. Like
it's of that time.
Yeah, it's absolutely of that time. This one, issue 11, because it's First Impossible Man, but the reason what makes it quintessential 60s is it's the green alien, the green Martian. It's like 50s, 60s. I love that. And then this one, classic cover.
Surfing
60s, and it's just that cosmic thing that I was talking about, and sort of a Titanic cover like you like, kind of hovering above. And again, this one mostly because of Sue Storm's hair. Honestly, to be honest, I just I love the looks of their faces. They're so cool. So, and then these you already had up here.
Yeah, I chose those two because one, we get a big Galactus at the end of the trailer, so that one, and then that other one, just because like the sci-fi space for FF57, so it's clearly Doom's head is in space at least. And if Silver Surfer's there, then it's probably otherworldly. So just like the sci-fi aspect of the 60s. And
I'm so happy right now to have this wall behind me. I can't even tell you. Like I'm such a Fantastic Four fanboy. I looking at all these just makes me happy.
So why do you think FF was created in a way that maybe it wasn't intentional, maybe it was, but to encapsulate the 60s? Because it's like I mean, their styles, obviously it's like they're not going to style them in the 80s because the 80s isn't a thing yet.
Right.
But I mean, even something like Silver Surfer, like the Beach Boys, that's kind of like what catapulted like the West Coast into kind of like the image that we still have today is like the Beach Boy surfer. And so there's a little bit of like West Coast, 60s vibe in surfing. So I would say the creation of Silver Surfer, and I don't know what their inspiration is, but that's just my like assumption is that you got the Beach Boys and West Coast surf culture.
Absolutely.
And skate culture is like blowing up in California. So it's like clear that they're tapping into like the biggest parts of 60s culture. But why do you think?
Probably because it's the flagship title. It's obviously quickly branched out to a lot of other titles, but Fantastic Four, first Marvel family, all that stuff, right? But it's their flagship and always will be their flagship title.
Yeah.
It is the first one. It launched everything. So whatever like big thing that was happening, it was going to land in the Fantastic Four first. Like the big sweeping cultural movements, you see them reflected in the Fantastic Four, whether it's the space race, whether it's human rights issues when you had Black Panther first appear in FF52 and then 53, or it's surfing, or it's I mean it goes on and on. There's so many different things that happen in the Fantastic Four kind of first. That's the reason. You have these other titles spring out from the soil of Marvel Comics, and they go in different directions. Peter Parker, the teenage angst, and all that stuff. But they I think sometimes they invented other characters to explore other things. Like we know that's true about the X-Men.
Legal.
And absolutely, let's have Matt Murdock be a lawyer. Like that's like what can we do with that, right? But Fantastic Four, I think they were painting with the broadest brush of all. Like that's just my theory. No one's Stanley did not appear to me in a vision last night and tell me, hey Bob. But it just that's my thought on it. And if somebody has any knows more, it's probably I don't know. If there's a book on it, I haven't read it yet. But certainly Fantastic Four is their big. Let's put it this way. I believe that art reflects culture. I think I'm not. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four operates, I think, as Marvel's largest mirror. They go, okay, we're going to give you the broadest, biggest. Here's what the culture is, and then they have other titles that explore the more nuanced stuff, and maybe makes other titles more interesting. Like Peter Parker explores what it's like to be a teenager, a nerdy, but also a superhero. We didn't get into a lot of that stuff in Fantastic Four. It was more. No, we're going to talk about the big stuff, like exploring other planets and and all that. So maybe that's why. But I love it. I that's why I think it's so brilliant that they're putting it in the 60s. It feels. When I saw the trailer, I just thought it felt right.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's like obviously they've tried a couple different things with the two different movies. I think the first. Did you rewatch the original FF movies? First two yet?
I couldn't do it. No. I couldn't bring myself to do
it. There's some cringe in there, but I think they're on a rewatch. I think they aged better than they might have been. Kind of consumed it during their time.
Their origin stories.
Yeah,
and it feels like though we are going to get the origin of the Fantastic Four again. It seems they're, but maybe not. It could be wrong.
The thing I like about those FF movies is like they're just so comic booky, like, and I think that's why that like cringe is like, it's cringe, but it's like it's so reminiscent of a comic book.
That's true.
And so, like you have that, and then you have the 2015 Fantastic Four, which really tried to modernize it in like a, just putting them in like the 2000s, like. Regrowing, like being born in like 2000 essentially, or like in the late 90s, and growing up and didn't really work. I mean, it worked for a little while in the movie, and then
Yeah.
there came a point where it didn't. And so, obviously, when they're thinking, okay, well, we've had 2 flops, like,
Yeah.
as far as like reviews and stuff, what do we do? And so, as we see in this trailer, the one answer was it's time to go back to the roots.
Yeah.
And what are the roots? It's family's first family. So it's called Fantastic Four First Steps, which honestly, I feel like they should just drop the first steps. Maybe they will. Maybe it's more of like a description ahead of time. But
Maybe.
yeah, I feel like they should just drop the first steps. But, first steps as, a baby takes the first step. So it was Marvel's, there was Timely and stuff, but FF was their first steps in comics.
Right.
And then taking it back to the 60s and sci-fi. And these are things that you see on the covers of their books all the way until essentially, I mean, when the 60s were done, you get into the 70s, but pretty much by the 70s, I think that's when Marvel realized that Spider-Man was the poster boy.
Yep.
And so that's when you see an especially big shift in like cover and a decline in story for FF. And then that's when you see the rise in Spider-Man. But what's the bread and butter for FF? It's 60s retro sci-fi. And what do you see when you watch this trailer? 60s
Those
retro
things,
sci-fi.
all those things. And like you said before, I think it was a couple episodes ago, that Reed Richards and the rest of the crew, they're astronauts, they're celebrities already.
Yeah.
And so let's use that.
Yeah.
That was, you were a celebrity in the 60s if you were an astronaut, like big time, like way major.
Yeah.
Big time the space race stuff. So I love that scene where in the trailer where he's like, says to the classroom, "You guys want to see a really big explosion?"
Yeah.
I mean, that's so cool. It's so Reed Richards, right?
Yeah.
But kids would love that. That's what they would want,
Yeah.
I that one part, and I almost brought FF 51. I almost brought it. The kind of in between issue, the this man, this monster.
Oh, yeah.
One it's kind of the culmination of the thing being unhappy to be this ugly rock monster.
Yeah.
And you see that hinted at in the trailer because they're playing like the match game or dating game or whatever it is, and that was an actual game show way back then, and with the girl's like, I'll take bachelor number 3, all bachelors behind a wall, so she can't see them, and then the camera pans over and you see that
Johnny, Reed, and the Thing,
or is it Johnny and Reed?
It's Johnny and Reed, I think,
but for sure it's the silhouette of the Thing. And, you can just already imagine her response is not going to be favorable when she sees who she's chosen. And he kind of knows it too, and probably wishes that he didn't get picked,
Yeah.
And
you can kind of see the way he's like slouched.
Yeah. He's like, oh gosh, I got it, but that's so thematic. They really explored. That was a big part of the early FF was the Thing saying he's ugly, knowing he's ugly. And they kind of got away from that after that. But I mean, his girlfriend or his love interest, Alicia Masters, only because she's blind, can't see him, and so then can really see like the cool dude that he really is. But he's, we're so used to the Thing. The Thing is the Thing. Like I think the Thing looks cool, right? But in 1961, when the Fantastic Four came out, like he's supposed to be a monster. He's supposed to be ugly and scary. Now he's just Ben Grimm, like it's clobbering time. They made him kind of nerfed that part of him. So anyway, I love that was alluded to also in it. But you're right. The other series got a lot more interpersonal, whereas Fantastic Four was more broad, and so I think it lost some of its appeal.
Yeah, one part of the trailer that I found interesting is when Reed's wearing a brown suit. And he like comes around and he like puts his arm over Sue Storm, and it looks like they're in like the dining room area, and he says something along the lines of like, you might remember the line more accurately than me, but he says something like, dinner time, 6:00 as always, or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's like talking about essentially alluding to like the rigid structure, like family, like, you talk about the 50s and 60s and the
Nuclear
nuclear
family. Dinner's at 6.
Yeah, exactly. And so I thought that was just like super interesting because, even like growing up, dinners weren't always at the table, and Dara and I hardly eat dinner at our table.
And we're 2 different generations. That's part of our podcast, right?
Yeah.
For me, I was home at 5 to set the table, and dinner was between 5 and 6. Between 5:30 and 6, however long it took my dad to get decompressed from work. He'd come home, and my mom and dad would go upstairs, and my mom would talk with my dad while he's getting out of his work clothes and getting his sweats or whatever. And then when they were done kind of decompressing about the day, then they'd come down. We all 4 sat around the table.
Yeah.
Every single night, every day of the week. The exception was when somebody was at a friend's house, whatever, but then we would all be there and there'd be just one empty seat. Like that's just the way it always was.
Yeah.
And I know that's old fashioned and archaic. We don't even do that in my home. You know? As much as I value it, we still struggled to do it in our home with Dara and Melissa. It was our daughters was difficult to make that work.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. And the stereotyped roles are probably going to be present in this movie too, because they certainly are in the comic books. Invisible Girl, just the title alone says it, right?
Yeah.
She's not a girl; she's a grown woman. And she didn't lose the girl part of her title for almost I think a decade. Before she becomes the Invisible Woman, or maybe even longer.
Yeah.
And she was pretty nerfed initially, but then they gave her more powers because all she could do was just not be seen. Talk about passive,
right?
She doesn't get any kind of offensive weaponry.
Yeah.
Until much, much later.
Yeah.
But now she's considered to be one of the she's as powerful as any one of them because she can suffocate you with her. She can surround you in a bubble and just suffocate you and crush you. She can do anything. So anyway, it's interesting. As culture changes, the Fantastic Four change.
Right. Yeah. So I like that line. And also I think it's interesting, I don't know how long, I don't know if this is going to be the FF will have past Secret Wars, because Secret Wars is going to reset so much.
Yeah.
So who knows? They might recast at that point. But the whole idea of 60s feminism, nuclear family, and what we know to be true about Reed and Sue's relationship is that he devotes himself so much to work that she finds solace in Namor, a Submariner.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see if they pursue that, because setting up those types of things, especially in today's culture, is like, oh, okay, like you can, especially from like a cultural perspective, you can validate reasons for this person leaving that person and understand and have sympathy why she would leave Reed. For these things. So
I love it. It's so good.
Namor's in the universe. I mean, anytime. Yeah.
I wonder if Stan Lee thought maybe to use Johnny Storm the way he wound up using Peter Parker, or perhaps Peter Parker was so successful. That's probably more it. Peter Parker was so successful, this high school kid or college kid, nerdy science guy, that they tried to cast Johnny Storm in college. If you have issue 50, that's actually a little sub story in issue 50. It's on that cover. It kind of wrecks the cover. Actually, it's one of the most beautiful FF covers.
Yeah,
the Silver Surfer brown cover. But in the bottom corner, it's got also in this issue, Johnny Storm goes to college. And I think maybe they wanted to try to borrow some of that Peter Parker success and apply it. But I don't think they could ever really get away from feeling that they had to have all 4 characters all the time in every single comic book, which has also plagued the movies, because you're like, well, every one of these 4 characters has to have an arc. Well, it's kind of hard to do, and it'd be satisfying.
Well, I think that's why the 2015 movie had a strong start, was because so I think with the 2015 movie, I think the final act of the movie ruins the whole movie. I thought the first act sets up a really good plot.
Yeah.
The second act extrapolates some really good things, and then the third act almost like throws all that stuff out the window.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
But the first act really focuses in on Reed and Ben.
Yeah.
And their school relationship and the dichotomy of like they're Reed being the smartest kid in the world, and Ben Grimm being from like, the edgy junkyard, like
Yeah.
rough life,
Yancey Street, you know?
abused.
Yeah.
And so it just sets up like this really like interesting dynamic between the two. And then they kind of have like the chess pieces, like that they set him up. It's like, here's Doom, or Victor Von Doom, this intellectual competition to Reed, and they don't dig into it too much. They make Victor Von Doom like pretty like shadowy and mysterious a little bit. And they have the Storm family, and they don't really do much. There's just like, there's a little bit of like Miles Teller, the actor for Reed, kind of being smitten by Sue a little bit, but focused on being where he's at and being able to do the work. And then they dig into a little bit, and then like the fourth act or the third act, it's just like all of a sudden they all have to have like this like crazy chemistry together.
Yeah.
And it's like chemistry that wasn't set up prior.
They didn't earn it.
Yeah. And I think that's why that last act just ruins that movie, is because it's like, if it would have stayed through and somehow it's just like, Ben and Reed, I don't know, just coming out and doing something and together, or like pushing through some sort of adversary.
So this is what I'm hoping, and this is why I'm encouraged by the first steps part of the title. I'm hoping that they're not going to try to pack everything into one movie. I'm hoping they're acknowledging, we've got at least a trilogy here. We're gonna take a story arc across 3 movies.
Yeah.
And we won't get all of it in. We'll have a conclusion of some sorts, a climax and a conclusion in the first movie, but it won't be almost like the Lord of the Rings, but it won't be the end of the story.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way to do it right.
Yeah.
I think to do it the way it was done with the Avengers.
Yeah.
I think, you just recognize you don't have to try to pack it all into one movie.
Yeah.
You don't have to introduce us to every single one of the characters and give us the full thing with it. It just doesn't work.
Right.
So anyway, as far as like comic books that I thought when I saw that trailer might be nice to own. I mean, I think we talked about before we even started recording, the clock is ticking on any cheap Fantastic Four books that are still out there. I mean, it's all relative, but there are some books in that even early in the run that kind of surprisingly inexpensive compared to other titles.
Yeah.
I think for example, Fantastic Four 3 is the one that comes to mind. Now it's not even in my price range, not in a lot of price ranges, right? But I'd like to save up for it. The Fantastic Car looked pretty cool in that trailer.
Yeah.
And it showed up in the Deadpool movie as well. And Deadpool Wolverine. It's the first appearance of the Fantastic Car, issue number 3, and it's on the cover. Oh, and by the way, it's the first costume. That book is too cheap, man. It's too cheap for that. It's way too cheap. And there's reason for FF2, which we'll talk about later when we get to a couple of the other trailers. But at least for me, anybody who's watched this podcast understands that that's already on my list.
Yeah.
But the timeline for me to get it, I feel just got a lot shorter.
Yeah.
We talked about FF5. You were saving for it. And then Robert Downey Jr. got announced, and
it's out of my reach.
It just accelerated to the point where,
yeah.
It's like inflation. Like I just lost all the things. Everything I saved just didn't really matter. And I feel like that's potentially going to happen for a lot of these other ones. And so FF3, if you're thinking about getting one, get one before the movie comes out.
Yeah.
And probably true about a lot of it. But that one for me is the one and when I get it, it's going to be a show and tell, because I'm going to be so stoked. I might bring the show and tell twice.
A couple more things. We saw a clip in that trailer of Human Torch wearing a suit with the blue and white, which is weird to me that they chose that suit.
That's the 1980s.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a very 80s reminiscent suit. So, but like we said, it's not the final product.
Right. It looked cool.
That was all test footage.
But in the video that we watched, the narrator said, in a way OG retro suit from way back or something along those lines. And I thought, well, he's not wrong. It's the 80s is 40 years ago, but man, talk about making a guy feel old. I mean, that's back when I was buying them off the rack. Come on, man, it's not that long ago.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it is, but there's older Fantastic Four.
I mean, the old blue right there. What is that? FF9 or
this is 11 right
11,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. So You know, that was like, I think the book they showed was like two in the 280s.
Yeah.
So that's
when
20,
She-Hulk was around.
yeah, it's like 30 years after
Yeah.
issue 1. So it's not, there's a lot of, it was an odd choice,
Yeah.
but I'll take it. It looked cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, it did. My final thoughts on it. I've said this before. I don't like half the casting. I don't like Pedro Pascal as Reed. I just don't.
Okay.
And I don't like. I've never. And to be fair, like I'm more open minded to this one. I'm open minded to both. I'm never like fully against. I'm just like, I didn't like Pedro as Joel from The Last of Us, and I just feel like it was almost like there's like a big Pedro hype train going on, and he's just kind of being cast and everything. So I mean, he's a great actor. His voice was cool. Like he did have like a minor transatlantic accent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he can. I have no doubt that his acting chops are good enough for the job. But do I like him in that specific casting? No.
Okay.
And then the actor for Human Torch, I've never seen him in anything, but he's not Johnny Storm is like almost like an up and coming playboy.
Yeah.
Like, and that dude is like, that guy, Joseph Quinn, he has like what people are calling now, like with some of these actors, like Carmy, the actor who plays Carmy in The Bear, this like weird, unattractive attractiveness. It's like, it's not like your typical like clean look type attractiveness.
But Johnny is
He's
clean.
that. He's
Yeah.
like your American.
Chris Evans was a good,
Yeah, totally.
really
yeah.
good casting for him.
And then Michael B. Jordan too, like
Truly.
And so you just have like
Both the guys,
two suave dudes who really can just like play the part of a knowing little brother who like is really in it for the fame, like kind of to begin with.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that this guy can like portray those things, but it's gonna be hard when it's like he doesn't have the look. Because I feel like that's such an important part to just being like Johnny Storm is you have to have this stereotypical good looks.
So I'm gonna hope for the best, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and I love Evan Moss Bachrach as Ben Grimm.
Yeah.
He's great. He was in The Punisher.
He's complex, which is that character needs it.
Yeah, and in The Bear, he's fantastic. Probably my favorite character in The Bear.
Yeah. I've seen some episodes, but it was too. I like the show. I haven't finished the show, but I've seen a few episodes of it. And it's good.
And then I've never seen Vanessa Kirby in anything.
Too tense.
So
It
I
stresses
don't.
me out.
So I don't know anything about her, but I mean, she's
I'm kind of
going
going by what everybody else has said. Like, what a good actress, or
Yeah.
can I say actress anymore? Are we saying that anymore?
Yeah, I think so.
Or actor? I mean,
Yeah.
what a good female actor. I mean, it's weird. Whatever. She's a good actress.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't-
if I've offended anybody.
I don't think people are arguing about the semantics of that.
Okay, good. Please, enough. Yeah.
So yeah, that's our FF takes. We're
Yeah.
both excited. We'll both be there opening night.
Oh my gosh.
For sure.
And if there's any kind of cool popcorn bucket thing that
You'll get it this
I'm
time.
getting it this time. There's nothing. I don't care what it costs.
Yeah.
Don't tell Regency Theater I said that. But I will get it. Yes.
All right, the next one is
Yeah.
Daredevil, and then we'll fly over the rest.
Okay.
But Daredevil Born Again. A little bit of context for this. Daredevil was canceled by Netflix, which was stupid in the first place. Don't know why.
Yeah. It was one of their
It was wildly popular.
blue chip. Yeah. Shows.
People loved it. They canceled it. Season 1 to season 3. I mean, it's just like, it's so good.
I'm rewatching it right now.
Yeah. It's brilliant. Like the acting, the performances, the writing,
Cinematography.
everything is
All of it.
is
The mood,
beautiful. Yeah.
which I guess is cinematography. Yeah, it's really good.
It's all so good. And then they canceled it. And I think it's partly because it's like they knew what they were doing with the Daredevil show. They knew what they were doing with the Punisher show. But then they didn't know what they were doing with the Iron Fist show. They didn't know what they were doing with the Defenders show. And then
Right.
the Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, I think, is like split. I think people like the first seasons of those. I've seen the first season of
Yeah.
Jessica Jones. I haven't seen anything of Luke Cage, so I can't speak on that. But from what I've heard online, is like people like the earlier stuff for Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and as it goes on, it's just like, eh.
Yeah, it gets a little campy, especially the Luke Cage.
Yeah.
I almost said Power Man, but yeah.
So that could be why just they weren't confident in the universe that they were building, so they just had to can it all. Marvel gets the rights back, deciding what to do with those rights. Then we end up seeing Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in No Way Home, introducing him. He's in the universe.
Yeah.
So now the question is, I mentioned this last week, the Netflix show was not afraid to reference things that happen in the MCU. Obviously, the MCU is not going to reference things that happen in a Netflix Daredevil show. Like, they weren't in an Avengers movie. They weren't going to be like, "Yo, did you hear that? Like, Kingpin gangster guy got in a fight with a dude in a mask."
No, they won't.
So they're not going to do that. Maybe the giant hole in the city in the building that collapsed in season 2 and Defenders.
They have to a little bit, but I mean, they'll at least they have the same. They'll take the baton from where they are, though. The story arcs will continue.
So
character arcs.
That wasn't the case originally, though.
No.
They introduced Charlie Cox. Fans loved it, so they were like, "Great, let's do a season on Disney Plus." So they brought back Charlie Cox, and that was pretty much it. Like, nobody else from the Netflix.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So I think that they brought back Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin.
Yes,
because he was in Hawkeye. They brought those two back, and everybody else. I think John Bernthal's Punisher was kind of like being floated around, but it was unsure. They brought on new love interests, and they were just gonna like kill off Karen and Foggy, or like send them off. And so they did. I don't know how much, but I think a significant amount of shooting for that. And then they brought it to Kevin Feige, and they were like, "This is what we got." And essentially, Kevin Feige, Charlie Cox, and Vincent D'Onofrio were like, "This is not it. We have to make a season 4, essentially." So then they went back, they did reshoots, and they shot an entirely new season. And that's Daredevil Born Again. And this past weekend, they showed the trailer, and they confirmed on stage, I didn't send you this clip, but they did confirm on stage that this is picking up where season 3 left off.
Good.
So this is a full continuation. And they acknowledged, or they talked about in an interview that same day, well, essentially everything I just said, that it originally wasn't, but they realized that they needed to.
So Deborah Wool is...
Deborah Anna Wool's back.
She's so good.
Yeah.
And Karen Page, if they're doing the Born Again, I mean, I know they've done that, but the Karen Page character, it has a lot to go through still if they're going to go down that road with their storyline, and Wool can do it.
Yeah, I don't know what their plan is really, because they did the Born Again, and season 3 is the Born Again run. It's Matt severely injured and being held up in the church.
His mom.
And recovering with his mom.
Does
the rise
Kingpin
of Kingpin
find out who he is, though? Because it's been a while since I watched season 3. So that is the Born Again.
Yeah.
So they might just be borrowing the title Born Again, and who knows, they obviously can't tell the same story if they're saying it's season 4.
Yeah. The Karen Page stuff, I don't think in season 3 they were, because she relapses, right? In the Born Again series. I don't think she relapsed in the season 3 show.
No, I don't think so. Because but that would be, I just think that her character, and the relationships between Paige and Froggy and Matt are so good. So good. I mean, she's on the cover of Daredevil 1.
Yeah.
I mean, she's an original.
Yeah. I don't think the original crew, I don't think the entire original crew is making it out alive. And if I had to guess, based on comic runs, I think she's probably the one that's gonna go.
Well, she dies in the comics.
She dies in the volume 2, early in the volume 2.
Sorry for the spoilers, but I mean, come on, it's been 30 years.
That started in 98, 99, I think.
Sorry, it's on you.
Yeah, so she dies then by Mysterio, actually. I think it's at the Hands of Mysterio. So,
Yeah. And she stays dead too.
yeah, she's dead. Yeah, she's not resurrected.
Yeah.
Who's in comics have stayed dead? Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy, and Karen Page.
Wow, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Who has stayed dead? Obviously, Uncle Ben has to stay dead.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole ethos of of Peter Parker is his death. You can't change that. I mean, it's a little recent, but Wolverine's fiance, what's her name?
Yukio.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a Japanese name, but I cannot remember right now. But she's killed and still dead, to my knowledge. But that's pretty recent. That's
even they revived Miss Marvel. They killed her off like last year, and then she was immediately back alive, like within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
One of the things in the trailer was a small snippet, and essentially the main villain of this season is a character called Muse.
Talk to me about Muse now. What is this dude?
So he's a serial killer who has powers. He might be an Inhuman. I'm not fully sure.
Okay.
I don't know if there's more beyond. He has an arc. He's a more recent villain, and he's got like a 5-6 issue arc.
Okay.
And then he gets arrested at the end of the arc. So I don't know if he's in any other, if he pops up anywhere else or if he pops up later. I don't think that he does. I
put some things on my phone too that I want to remember.
He's a serial killer, and he uses like the blood to paint murals, or he will take the bodies of the people he's killed, and he will form them in like statues. So like in that little run, he like set up an entire room full of dead Inhumans, and they were all like they were like ironing, and like, so he's just like this sadistic, crazy serial killer.
That's dark, like Jessica Jones, Killraven dark, like dark.
Yeah.
Because that's another serial killer with powers. And horrible.
I almost put that book up, Daredevil 4.
Oh wow.
First Purple Man. Yeah.
Yeah, that would. Wait, is Purple Man? What's the connection? Purple Man.
That's I think that's Killraven. The dude from season 1.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
the mind control thing.
Yeah, that's Killraven, right? Purple Man, of course.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Muse for a second. I got crossed up.
Yeah. No. So
okay. So I'm jumping ahead, but we'll come back. I know we'll get there, but we watched. There was Marvel animation stuff that was previewed that was leaked and all this. But one of the things that was talked about was a villain that was represented by a golden lion mask for something we're going to talk about in a minute. But the only reason I'm bringing it up now is because I saw in the Daredevil trailer that was leaked, there was somebody wearing a pendant of a golden lion mask, and I just wondered if that's any connection to what they might be doing with some of this other stuff. I think it was, let's see, Eyes of Wakanda was where was the golden lion is the big villain in that that miniseries they're going to do. And so I was trying to figure it out. And the only thing I could find was Kraven.
Oh, interesting.
Which is another trailer that just dropped.
Yeah.
And so I wondered, and White Tiger too also has that mask as another one. But White Tiger's not really a villain. White Tiger's more of a hero. But anyway, I wondered if there was any connection. But I mean, they showed it. They had in the Daredevil trailer. They had a close up of somebody wearing it. You could see it sitting right here. It was a gold lion mask, which they didn't mention it in this video that I watched. But they did mention when they talk about the animation, the gold mask villain, but they don't know who it is. That's going to be in the Eyes of Wakanda. So I don't know. It's just something to think about.
I think I'll have to rewatch, but I think that's all just White Tiger. I don't think there's going to be much correlation to.
Okay.
I I don't think there'll be any overlap between Daredevil lore and Black Panther lore.
Yeah, it would be weird, right?
Yeah.
Except that in the Wakanda, Eyes of Wakanda, Iron Fist makes an appearance. And Iron Fist, at least in the Netflix, Iron Fist is in the Hell's Kitchen world.
But it's animated, so it's a different universe,
right? I was on ChatGPT asking about villains in the Marvel history that were associated with a gold lion mask because I was racking my brain to try. I mean, other than White Tiger, what it would be. And then when Kraven came up, I thought, well, that's interesting because there's going to be a Kraven movie. But anyway.
No, I
wonder if you had any thoughts on that.
No, I think honestly, I'll have to look, but that was probably just like a tiger or like some sort of like Hispanic, because he's Hispanic. So, and I think it's tied in with like Aztec, Mayan, Hispanic mythology.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which I mean, I guess could tie into African mythology, but like,
yeah, it's just a coincidence then.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm digging.
So we'll see the team up of Daredevil and Kingpin. They're allegedly going to be teaming up this season, and you hear Matt say that. He essentially says like,
"With that diner scene."
Yeah, the diner scene, and then he says something like, "I'm going to have a close eye on you" or something.
If you step out of the line, I'm going to know it.
Yeah.
And then there's this laughing from Kingpin. It's so good.
I think it's because there's going to be like I think Muse is going to pose a problem for them both. So it's going to be like okay, I don't like you, but he's causing a problem in both of our backyards.
Real fast, in the history of Marvel or DC, can you think of like your all-time like villain migrations, the way Kingpin migrated from being a Spider-Man villain and now he's a Daredevil villain?
You know what I was thinking about actually watching that because we watched the Kraven trailer right before we started filming this.
Yeah.
Was Sony owns all of the Spider-Man properties. So shouldn't they then own Kingpin? Because he is like, if you trace it all back, he is a Spider-Man property.
Right. But I don't know what's the contract. Did they say we own everything that ever appeared in a Spider-Man comic, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think it's just like the whole like lore and like mythology of Spider-Man. And I mean, he makes his first appearance in a Spider-Man comic, and he's originally a Spider-Man villain. He was popularized by Daredevil, but that doesn't really mean on paper like a transfer of ownership.
No.
Sure, like in the eyes of the culture, like it definitely. But if he makes his first appearance here, he's a Spider-Man property. So I was just like,
maybe Spider-Man, maybe Sony can use Kingpin, but that would be weird. You couldn't.
But it wouldn't be that way because Sony's contract, they would have the leash on Kingpin, and they would be the ones telling Disney when they can or can't use.
All right.
It wouldn't be like Marvel. I mean, Sony could ask to use Kingpin and Marvel could say yes, but it seems like Disney's the one with the leash on Kingpin when I thought it would be flipped. But back to what you were saying. Yeah, it is.
I mean, Daredevil stole Kingpin from Spider-Man and it's not going back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely not.
It's hard. I'll have to give that some thought, but I'm sure it's been done. I mean, Punisher has not been stolen from Spider-Man the same way that Kingpin has. Punisher and Spider-Man still connected.
Well, Punisher's also become his own thing.
True. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's kind of his own thing.
So, but yeah, Kingpin definitely has been still in Daredevil comics, currently in the Daredevil run. Yeah, I haven't. He was in X-Men for a little bit too, which I thought was interesting. He was like the leader of the Krakoa, or no, he was the president of the Hellfire Club.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
So, some intense fight scenes. We see Matt screaming like in a pure rage.
Yep. Squishy blood sounds.
Yeah. Vincent D'Onofrio said in an interview that surprisingly, this season is going to be bloodier than any previous season. And he said that there's something that made the cut that he was surprised made the cut. And I saw that tweet and I was like, bro, you beheaded a guy with a car door in season 1. How does it get worse than that?
I don't know.
How does it get like you see it all, and like he is slamming his head. You get shots of Wesley sitting in the back of the car and blood just being like squirted on his face, and then you see the head fall and roll, and it's like
I shouldn't be laughing. Isn't it funny?
it's like what is worse than that? Like
Nothing is worse than
what
that.
like aside from maybe
To be bludgeoned into decapitation is about as bad as it gets.
the only thing that I could think that would be visually worse is a punch straight through the back and just the visual gore of ripping somebody's spine out of their back and just what that would look like. Like that's about, but even I don't know.
Well, in case you were wondering or concerned that there'd be a Disneyfication of Daredevil, some taming of its dark qualities that we all loved about the Netflix. Don't worry.
Yeah, no.
It's there.
There will be no problem. Frank Castle shows up. He looks a little bit.
He looks like he's been in prison or something.
Yeah, it looks like something.
Well, that makes sense though. He would be because that's kind of where it ended off, where he was like, "Yeah, I did." And he's going to get arrested. Isn't that how it ended off in the Punisher series?
I don't remember.
I get them all confused, but in any event, that's what it looks like.
All I remember, honestly, the only thing I can remember from that last episode is when he's fighting. What's his name? I can't remember the villain's name, but he's fighting that villain at the carousel.
Yeah, the carousel
where his family was murdered.
Yeah,
and there's like the broken glass in the mirrors on the carousel, and he just slams his face. Jigsaw. And
the
he
Jigsaw
creates
origin
Jigsaw
story.
essentially, and he just drags his face across that broken mirror. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I obviously didn't feel it when watching it, but I felt like I could feel it. Like
yeah, that was gruesome.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm excited.
But
I love that stuff.
Like these characters are dark because their origins are dark. And it's good to be true to that.
Yeah.
There's room in the Marvel and DC worlds to have both types. You can have your more kind of straight ahead superheroes who always do the right thing and aren't morally conflicted. But Frank Castle's origins are pain.
Yeah.
And Matt Murdock's origins are pain. So, but that's what makes Murdock so great. They mix religion, Catholicism, and his desire to be good to be a good Catholic boy.
Yeah.
From New York, and everything that he gets from his dad. The boxer and hey, we were Murdochs. We get hit, but we always get back up again, kind of thing. It's so good, and they're leaning into it.
Yeah,
and I like it.
It's like that quote from Punisher in season 2 of Daredevil, where he says, "You hit guys and they get back up. I hit guys and they stay down." I love that. I mean, you just talk about the horrible ugliness and world that we live in, and all the evil atrocities that happen, and Punisher's way is efficient. Not Captain America's.
No, yeah, it's a one and done.
And I mean, that's even true with like Daredevil's lore. Daredevil's like, he's Matt Murdock, and he's like, I'm justice by the law, like is what I'm going to accomplish.
Yeah.
But then his whole Daredevil persona is sometimes justice doesn't come by the law.
No.
And sometimes it has to come through another way. And then I love that Punisher puts him in the position where it's like, okay, but execute that justice.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
Those two are just riff off each other so well.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah. I love that. I love that quote.
Yeah. And it's coming in March, right?
March. Yeah.
Okay.
You hit guys and they stay down. I hit guys or you hit guys and they get back up. I hit guys and they stay down. It's so good.
Yeah. Delivered
It's
perfectly.
so good. Trying to think of other things that were in the trailer. I didn't write any of it down, but I watched them multiple
We had
times.
X-Men 97 season 2.
Oh no, I mean in the Daredevil trailer.
Oh, sorry.
I think that's pretty much it.
That covers it for now.
White Tiger, I have no clue. I believe that actor has passed, sadly, since. So I don't know what they'll do to wrap up. He does have a daughter who becomes, I believe it's his daughter who becomes White Tiger, or like a niece or something. So maybe she's introduced in the show.
Let's see. I wrote some notes. I'll see if I have any other notes from the Daredevil.
And then they'll have her take over the mantle.
But no, the only note I had was golden lion pendant with 3 question marks.
So yeah, Daredevil. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
It'll be a good time.
I'm as excited for that as I am for the Fantastic Four movie, because the Fantastic Four movie comes with a little bit of trepidation. I'm a little bit, scared that it won't measure up. I have no concerns about the Daredevil.
Well, with the Daredevil stuff too, it's also like you have these actors who have been part of the project since 2014, probably 2013 for like casting and original filming. I think the show came out in 2015. So you've been with these characters these actors who have been with these characters for a decade and know what the fans love at this point, and obviously knew something wasn't going to work and change something. And so now that we get closer, and if those actors who at this point have just become reliable sources of what to do and what not to do with characters, if they're saying you're gonna love this, you're probably gonna love it. Like I would tend to believe them. With FF, it's like if Pedro says you're gonna love this, it's like, well, what do you know?
Yeah,
like,
how do you know? What are you basing that on?
Yeah, what do you gauge that on? Like,
we haven't loved any of it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's really nothing to gauge.
You don't know what we would love, really.
No, but please let me love it. Please, I want to love it. As far as like spec on Daredevil, from what I could see, what was my show and tell, and any of the Frank Miller run, is always going to be good. I wouldn't overspec on the detective on Daredevil 227, the beginning of the Born Again's run, because that's not really going to be the storyline that's already been told. I don't know if they'll do the Man Without Fear or Fall from Grace. There's different storylines, or it seems like they're going to explore a completely different storyline. Yeah. So I don't have any like, oh, here's the book you got to spec on if it's Daredevil.
Oh,
it sounds like you do.
He has 5 different helmets that pop up in the trailer. He's got a yellow one, a red one, a black one, a white one, and I don't remember the 5th one. The black one from the 90s.
Okay, so there you go. There's something to look for. First appearances of these
That's
these
in
helmets.
the Fall from Grace.
Fall from Grace. I think it was 5 parts plus a prequel.
Yeah, it was somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah, great covers.
So that's the first black suit. They changed the black suit because that's like a black armor type suit. And then he has like a black spandex-y type suit, and like from just a few years ago, like before Zdarsky took over.
Yeah.
Red suit. I actually almost put it up here, and then I switched it out for this one because I have FF7.
Daredevil 7?
Or Daredevil 7 and a 4/5 white pager. It was almost in this spot.
Still way underpriced.
Aside from Daredevil 1, it's probably the most expensive out of the top 10, but that's the first red suit. Yeah. I mean, it's not really a spec. It's not going to go up because of the show, but a great book and a great cover with Submariner. Yep. Obviously, yellow suit. You only have 6 issues where he wears the yellow suit.
Or unless you want to get the Daredevil Yellow series that came out, I think in the 90s or 2000s.
Yeah, the early 2000s.
Yeah, you could get that. It's not really a spec, but if you just want to have it.
Yeah. And then the white suit is actually from the Zdarsky run.
The one that I'm reading right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as far as I don't think that there's any white suit before that.
I've never seen him in a white suit.
Dude, it's sick.
I've seen Elektra in a white suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's another story.
And then I can't remember what the 5th color was, but there was 5 helmets. The black and the white one were the most that stood out to me the most.
So there you go. Something to look. It's fun to have a reason to go hunt for something, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's a spec. But if you're looking for a reason to go hunt for something, that's a good reason.
And Charlie Cox did say in an interview recently that he's been reading a lot in preparation for, because they're keeping this Daredevil, like they said they're going to start shooting season 2 soon. So I mean, this could be like an every year type thing. We're getting seasons. He said he's been reading a lot, and he name dropped Chip Zdarsky as one of the writers he's been reading.
All right.
And so those first few issues with Juan, I can't think of his middle name. It's Juan something Tedesco, is the cover artist. Those first issues of the Zdarsky run where he did the cover, those go for like $10-15 a piece, like near mint.
Yeah, snag them.
Yeah. So that run, I sing praises of it all the time.
And if the extrapolation of that run leads back to Elektra, because it goes to Elektra becoming Daredevil for a time.
Yeah.
So we back to Daredevil. This is not there right now, but Daredevil 168.
Yeah.
Is something that's always going to be a good pickup.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. I would love to have. I'm greedy when it comes to. I would love to have a stack this high of Daredevil 168s. It's dumb, I know, but I would.
So yeah, I mean, really, like you said last week, just put Daredevil books on a wall, throw a dart, and it's undervalued.
And it's a win. Yeah, pretty much.
So
for all of it.
The rest of D23, we'll just fly over this. It was a lot of animation. We got X-Men 97 season 2, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, and the final season of What If.
Yeah.
I saw some discourse on Twitter about What If season 3 that I kind of agree with. I'm kind of disappointed this is the last season. This almost seems like something you could keep going, like,
oh yeah,
forever. Like, and I think people were disappointed because it's like we could be getting, like, the What If comics are cool. Like, what if Gwen Stacy was never killed? Or talking about the Born Again Daredevil 227, that whole Frank Miller second run is, what if Matt Murdock killed Kingpin? Like when he walks into his thing and Kingpin's working out, like, what if he killed him there?
Yeah.
And it's like these really, another what if is what if Punisher's family never died. And so you have these really cool stories. And it's like, in the What If show, we got, what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas?
Come on.
I don't care. Like,
this is so dumb.
And don't get me wrong, like the whole native tribe thing that they went with in season 2.
Yeah.
And I'm totally blanking on her name. Her name starts with a K. That was like her first appearance. Like, it was a brand new character created for the show, and her whole story was really cool. But that's not like a what if. That's like a kind of, you're creating like a whole new. You're adding more lore to the Marvel mythos.
What if is alternate lore. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's. I mean, it's what the title is. It's okay. This happened this way. But what if it didn't?
Like that. The Doctor Strange from season 1 is such a good episode because it is like a what if. Like,
yeah. What if Iron Man turned out to be a traitor? What if Wolverine had killed the Hulk? You know. What if Spider-Man would join the FF? Like, those are great storylines. You know. What if Phoenix had lived?
Yeah.
Those were all what ifs that came out in that first run. They're so good. They're so intriguing. You know, what if Jane becomes Thor? Right now, all, you know. So, if you're looking for something, and I don't think the what ifs are really going to drive any kind of Marvel spec. It hasn't so far, so I don't think so. And if it hasn't yet, it's not going to. But, you know, like the first Watcher, FF13, it's not going to suddenly get hot because what if season 3 is coming out? That's not going to happen. But FF13 is pretty pricey anyways. First Red Ghost, first Watcher. Fantastic Four 29 though. First Watcher cover is one of the most gorgeous Fantastic
Yancey
Four covers.
Street, right?
Yep. It started on Yancey Street. That one is at CGC right now. It's going to be coming back. I've been hitting refresh every day.
Same. I also have one out there. Yeah.
Schedule for grading. It's like, please, when's it going to say, like, you know, the next encapsulation or quality control, like something? Give me a change. But FF29 is not cheap, but it is not. If you're into first cover appearances, especially if those cover appearances are awesome, and you like the Watcher, you want to get a little piece of it, a little stock in the Watcher, FF29 is what I would get.
Well, I've seen some speculation on the show side, like speculating what will happen. And people think that this is going to catapult animation into the main universe for like Secret Wars. And so we're going to get, I mean, we already got Watchers in,
Right.
was it Guardians of the Galaxy? Where they were like walking with Stan Lee or whatever.
Yeah.
But this Watcher, voiced by, I'm blanking on his name.
Oh yeah, I don't know his
Commissioner
name.
Gordon.
Yeah, that's it, Commissioner Gordon.
From the Batman.
They borrowed him from DC.
They could easily just make him the Watcher.
Sure.
Because they kind of, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, we'll probably see him. I'm pretty sure we'll see him as the Watcher in the upcoming Avengers movies.
One of the things that came up in the preview, leaked preview from the, or at least spec, or was it a preview that we saw, or just they were just talking about? But anyway, from the What If series, was a lot of Japanese samurai stuff and like Transformer type.
Oh yeah, like
tech
the
and all
mech,
that. Yeah. This is a really weird book, but it's just one of those books that you could see suddenly popping off, going from being a $1 bin book to a $40 book overnight. And it's make sure I get the issue right. Fantastic Four 226. It's the first appearance of the Super Samurai, I think it's called, or something. And it's
Silver Samurai.
I don't think it's Silver Samurai, but he's on the cover. It's this. It looks like a transformer, but it's a samurai and it's got a long sword. It's like 30 feet tall, 50 feet tall. On the cover, it's one of the first Fantastic Fours I ever bought. It came at 50-cent cover price. Anyway, it's First Samurai Warrior. That's what it's called. Samurai Warrior. This is not a character that's anywhere, but if you're just thinking, take a flyer, I guarantee you will find it in a $1 bin somewhere, or 5-10 for $1.
Yeah.
It's, out there. If you're thinking maybe a quick score, you never know. Like what I saw in the animation that they showed in this video looked just like that character.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is that character, but spec goes in strange places.
Yeah. If you want to hedge your bets on some outside of comics, it would be Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
And just that whole.
That's from the video game, right?
It's an anime.
Oh, okay.
So,
There you go. Get some toys.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like a manga.
Yeah, get that toy sealed in a box or whatever.
Yeah.
What else? The What If seasons of Eyes of Wakanda look pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
I think it's four-part series. Almost had 1602 vibes. Like they were showing like. I know it's not.
Yeah.
It's not alternative universe or anything.
Well, they already did that.
Yeah. It was just interesting just to say that it's starting way in the past.
Yeah.
Way in the past. With this one character, Noni, that apparently protects Wakanda from the outside, making sure it stays undiscovered. And I don't know, kind of cool. I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down.
Yeah.
First mention of Wakanda is FF53.
Oh, yeah.
52 is first. 52 is first. Black Panther 53, first mention of Wakanda. And Vibranium.
Jungle Action 6, Map of Wakanda.
Hook it up.
So I got that at CGC right now. A lower grade, probably like a 3.
I sold you can look it up. The very first one that sold a 9.8 in 2018, 2019, that was me. If only I'd held it for just another year, but no, I sold that.
Yeah.
I bought that for like $100, so it was a good.
My gosh.
I sold it for 3,200, 3,300, something like that. So, but then the next guy sold it 2 months later for 5,000.
Yeah.
But someone has to go first.
Yeah, true.
I mean, the first one sets the bar usually the lowest. You know, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I did recently repurchase it. Not a 9.8.
Yeah.
But it's probably like an 8.5.
I wonder what a 9.8 goes for today with the crash and everything. Not sure.
Yeah, probably less than what I sold it for.
Probably.
So I feel good.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a win.
So yeah, a lot of Marvel coming up. Excited for it. We also got the Kraven trailer, but we're running short on time here. So.
Yeah. So X-Men 97 looks good, but I think that's been talked about a lot already in a lot of different places. A lot of first appearances, a lot of characters, I should say, show up in X-Men 97 that have very inexpensive first appearances, but you guys probably already don't know that. So.
Yeah. So, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
And we're headed off to the Patreon segment.
Yes. It's always fun when new things drop.
Yeah.
Trailers and leaks and,
Yeah, we'll probably talk about Craven a little bit there just for time purposes, but not because
Yeah.
we're trying to gatekeep that conversation.
We are
but,
not.
Yeah, it's time to wrap up this conversation.
Yeah. I
Here.
see my camera turned off anyway. So.
Yeah, we gotta let that charge. I don't know what happened there.
It's its way of telling me you're talking too much.
Yeah, that's about it. Let's just tease our sleeper
Yes.
and head scratcher. So
I like how you did it last episode where I picked my phone up and suddenly you dropped the picture, made it look like it got really big. That was
that
was pretty cool.
You don't have to show it. I'll just I'll do the same thing. Just hold your hand up. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So one of us has a sleeper. One of us has a head scratcher. You won't know who has what until you watch the Patreon.
True.
So I have here Fantastic Four Annual 1. This is early Spider-Man appearance, Origin of the Submariner, 15 pinups, which is a lot, and first appearance of Lady Dorma and Krang, not to mention a first year Marvel book from 1963. So
great book.
that's mine, and then yours is
mine is Captain America issue 100, which is the first, the beginning of the Captain America run adopted from Tales of Suspense. So Tales of Suspense runs to issue 99, where you have Iron Man and Captain America, and then it jumps to 100, and it's Captain America's own title. So issue 100, in a way, is kind of considered Cap 1.
Yeah.
You know? 1968. It's got that cover everybody recognizes that you can see here.
I feel like last week it was obvious what was the head scratcher and what was the sleeper. I feel like this week it's genuinely like
these are both
these are both significant books.
They're significant books and desired books.
Yeah.
So yeah, I won't say any more than that.
Yeah.
But there it is.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Instagram. Links in the description. We're going to continue this conversation on Patreon. Link to that is also in the description. And hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you.